Hello, I am the Lonely Critic, otherwise known as Lonecrit, and I will be your host today when me and my friend Biogundam here are talking about the subject of anime overhype and anime underhype.
Hi, I'm Biogundam. I'm here because my side bit's Lonecrit here, or as I like to call Edge Crit, begged on his hands and knees me to be here. So, yes, it's a very interesting topic of underhype and overhype. So, Lonecrit, you want to start?
Why, of course. So, this subject has been on my mind for a very long time. The subject of anime overhype and underhype. What do I mean by this? Often when a new anime gets released, the populace tend to overhype it and make it sound much better than it actually is. In retaliation, very often, supposed critics or actual critics that just aren't so good, or even elitists, tend to say said so is shit, even though it is perfectly fine, giving very polarized opinions relating to the show. Sometimes this is fine, except when the show is actually mediocre, and therefore both sides are either selling it short or overselling it.
I think a good example of how overhype would definitely be the recent show Erased, because while I was watching it, I thought for the first couple of episodes, I thought it was actually decent and was actually pretty interested to see what more, because I think, you know what, people are buzzing about this, but I can see why people are buzzing about this, and it's actually not that bad, but as the show kind of continued, it just went further and further down the hole of mediocrity, and I eventually started to hate it because, yeah, I mean, sure, the first couple of episodes were good, and I think that the hype was justified at that point, but as the show came on, and people were still hyping it up, I'm just wondering to myself, what the fuck is wrong with you guys? Can't you see that there's obviously problems that you're ignoring?
Yeah, I suppose that would be a good example. Relating to this, another good example would be the anime One Punch Man, originally based on the webcomic by One, where when it first came out, many people were severely overhyping it, and unfortunately this hype was causing other people to hate it and call it shit, when in reality most people could admit, at least most people who had never heard of it in the first place, could admit that the show is at the very least mediocre. So the similarity between both our examples is that often shows were either overcredited or discredited, and therefore were underappreciated. Mind you, though, the reason I believe that this is a severe problem in today's anime community is because, well, people may enjoy a show less because they've heard the hype and it doesn't stand up to that hype, as shows I'm sure you know rarely do. At least if people watch that show, they might still get something out of it. In my opinion, though, the greater problem is underhyping of anime, because if people undersell an anime too much, then nobody will watch it. Now, if you watch an anime and don't like it, that's fine. You may still get something out of it, but if it's so undersold that you don't watch it in the first place, then you basically miss an opportunity, and you might miss something that might have still impacted you as a person. So in my opinion, you at least miss out on a valuable experience.
Yes, for the shows of underhype, I especially see this in a lot of older titles, like some of the more less known titles from the 90s and early 2000s. Like, I'm just going to use Ajio no Summer as an example, but what I've noticed a lot lately is that a lot of shows, especially in the late 90s and early 2000s, just don't really get that much attention. And in my experience of watching some of these shows, I've actually seen some of these shows that are actually better than what we actually get today, which is pretty ironic because the animation generally looks like shit. But I feel that some of these shows are really I wouldn't say underhyped, but underappreciated. Like, no one wants to take that risk to check them out because most people are obsessed about the pretty colors and all that kind of jazz.
Yeah, unfortunately though, this also another example of underhype is that fans of anime from the early 90s, when animation was way more dynamic, or at least often better directed than anime today, is that now purely based on visual engagement. People might discount today's shows based on visuals, just like some of the neofags do with older shows, purely on the basis of visuals, despite any kind of greater thematic depth or meaning. For example, in the early 90s, we got more thematically deep shows, or generally the 90s that is, such as maybe Serial Experiments Lane, literally anything by Satoshi Kon, but nowadays, different kind of meanings can be found that are just expressed in different ways, in shows like Kill la Kill, Kateni Kaizo, Sayonara Zetsubo Sensei, or even shows like Ajin, which have a heavy heavy emphasis on CGI, but actually have some interesting political meanings, such as the fact that people only care about something in politics when it affects them personally.
My thing about IGN is it basically shows you how humans by nature will fuck someone over if it's going to personally gain them. I mean, the IGN, they don't do anything wrong. They just are immortal and exist. It's just, you can just make money off IGN. I mean, you can harvest their organs, you can use them to test weapons, and there's no consequence. And especially IGNs, the dummies, or the goddamn, they're like the practice dummies for humanity now. Like, they're a race of people that have been devalued as basically target practice for humanity. And I'm pretty sure a lot of humans, if IGN did actually exist, would probably do that. I mean, because humans by nature are always afraid of that, or they don't understand.
I perfectly agree with what you said there. And to follow up on that, not only is it demonstrated in the series how people only fight for their political ideals when it concerns them directly, but also it uses the idea that humans feel the need to eliminate that which can kill them purely out of fear, which can also be an interesting idea of comparing humans' primal nature to the ideals that they've developed over their life. But enough about talking about a specific show. An admittedly less likely example of underhype in modern anime is how in the 90s shows often, at least the more well thought out shows, focused a lot more on thematics relating to characters, existentialism, and the individual, while a lot of newer shows take a completely different approach and focus on general messages and critiques of life. Some interesting examples of this would be Kino's Journey, Kateni Kaizo, Desert Punk. So a lot of people tend to overvalue and devalue different kinds of periods because of different thematic, directional, and artistic liberties.
Yes, I feel that some people devalue these things because they haven't personally experienced any of these things or never seen it before. Because, selfishness or seeing a different point of view, most humans aren't going to do that. They're not going to try and look at things. I mean, some people bring up, I empathize, but do you actually truly understand? Or do you even try to think of how these people actually think? Because, what's this fucking chat? Where's this video turning into human nature debate?
Okay, I'm gonna try something different. A big problem in today's anime community, relating to what I said earlier about how some critics and also a lot of elitists tend to devalue shows that the populace tend to overhype, is that a lot of people strive for equality of outcome, which basically means if a negative thing counteracts a positive thing, then what will be shown is the true result. And in fact, for a greater level of fairness, people should not pay attention to biased combined opinions, when in fact it would quite possibly be a better idea to pay more attention to individual people who fairly critique something and then sort of, let's say, place their bets on them rather than some echo chamber, or generally rather than paying attention to the average of two polarized sides.
I think it would be better to go for people who are more mixed in opinions. Like, for some shows they'll like and critique it, and other shows they'll dislike but still critique it and still give it a fair shot. It's like the world is like being divided into two camps. You're either on the critic side or the pleb side, and that really spurs a lot of discussion with people, and most of them don't want to actually talk or discuss actual opinions with each other, and that's kind of the problem when it comes to overhype and underhype, because some people will devalue a show so much that no one will actually ever like it again, and some people will say to these people, you know what, I may be overhyping it, but this show isn't that half bad if you look at it this way. I think diversity in opinions is a good way not to get a standard going, but just have a basis for what you should check out. Like, I think a good idea is to follow a couple of people with different opinions so you can just get a different viewpoint on everything.
Right. Well, I think it's time for this video to come to an end. So to wrap up, I would say that while overhype is definitely hurting the anime community, I in fact think that underhype may in fact be hurting the anime community as a whole much more, and also that we shouldn't pay much attention to great big websites with over-bloated ratings like MyAnimeList or International Movie Database, where any individual can just cast a number and instead try to find individual people to give their own opinions on shows. What would you say are your final thoughts on this?
Well, I would say, whatever floats your boat, because at the end of the day, I'm not going to control people or tell them what they can't or can't do, but I feel that overhype and underhype kills the community, because, for example, when I go into some of these shows and they're overhyped for days, I feel very disappointed. I think underhype and overhype are definitely bad, and I think it's a necessary evil, to be truthfully honest, because it gives people an idea where their place is in the community scale, I guess, when it comes to opinions and whatnot. It gives people a basis, an idea of where they stay, whether whether they like it or not.
I see. Fair enough. This has been me, your presenter, the Lonely Critic, otherwise known as Lonecrit. I had my friend Biogundam here, trying out an experimental format of video. I will most likely continue trying to create videos like these in the future. And yeah, I would just like to mention that I will not always have my friend Biogundam here, and said I will switch from individuals depending on the topic of the video. So for now, this is the Lonely Critic and Biogundam signing out.
Peace out, bitches.
And remember to subscribe.